Lucas leaned back in his chair as the entire restaurant went silent. My daughter-in-law had just laughed in my face and said, "Let's be honest, you're just a poor janitor." People around us turned to watch. My son stared at the table, too embarrassed to speak. And I simply smiled. Not because her words didn't hurt, but because in less than 5 minutes, someone was about to walk into that restaurant and reveal a truth that would change everything. A truth so shocking that the same woman laughing at me would soon be begging for my forgiveness. But before I tell you what happened next, let me take you back to where this story really began. My name is Lucas, and I'm 65 years old, and this is the night my family finally learned who I really was. Welcome to my YouTube channel Moral Ecos, where silence speaks. My name is Lucas, and I am 65 years old. For most of my life, people looked at me and saw a man pushing a cleaning cart. A janitor. A man with worn shoes and simple clothes. Someone easy to overlook. Invisible. But life has taught me something important. The quietest people often carry the heaviest stories. And mine began a very long time ago. A childhood of struggle. I grew up in a tiny town where opportunity was rare, and survival was the main goal. My father died when I was 10 years old. One day he was there fixing a broken chair in our kitchen. And the next day he was gone. A heart attack. Just like that. My mother cried for weeks. But eventually she wiped her tears and started working 2 jobs. She cleaned houses during the day, worked in a diner at night. Watching her struggle changed something inside me. At 16, I left school early and took my first job. Cleaning offices. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. And honest work builds strong men. The love that changed my life. When I was 23, I met the woman who would change everything. Her name was Mary. Mary worked at a small bookstore near the bus station. She had a soft voice and a smile that made the whole world feel calm. The first time she saw me in my janitor uniform, she didn't laugh. She didn't judge. Instead, she said something I would never forget. "Lucas, there's something kind in your eyes." We started talking, then dating, then loving. 2 years later, we got married. And for the first time in my life, I felt like the future might actually be bright. Becoming a father. When our son Daniel was born, everything changed. I remember holding him in the hospital room, his tiny fingers wrapped around mine. In that moment, I made a silent promise. My son will never struggle the way I did. From that day forward, my life became about one thing. Daniel's future. Years of sacrifice. Those years were hard. Very hard. I worked 2 jobs as a janitor. Morning shift at a hospital. Night shift cleaning office buildings. Sometimes I slept only 4 hours. My hands were always rough. My back constantly hurt. But every paycheck went toward Daniel. School supplies. Books. Tutoring. Mary supported me through everything. Whenever I felt tired or discouraged, she would hold my hand and say, "Lucas, you're building a future." The day everything broke. Life was finally getting easier. Daniel was 17 and preparing for college. Then the doctor said a word that shattered everything. Cancer. Mary fought it bravely for 2 years. But sometimes strength isn't enough to beat fate. The night she died, she held my hand and whispered something that still echoes in my heart. Take care of Daniel and never stop believing in yourself. Those were her last words. A promise to keep. After Mary died, the house felt empty. Quiet. Lonely. But I kept working. Harder than ever. Because Daniel still had dreams. He was brilliant, smart, ambitious. He earned a scholarship to a prestigious university. The day he graduated, I sat in the audience wearing my janitor uniform because I came straight from work. But when Daniel walked across that stage, smiling proudly, I felt like the richest father in the world. Success changes people. Daniel got a high-paying job in finance, a beautiful apartment, luxury suits, new friends, and eventually, he met Sophia. Sophia was elegant, stylish, confident, but she came from a wealthy family that valued status and appearances. The first time she visited our modest house, I noticed her eyes scanning everything. The old furniture, the worn carpet, the small kitchen. Then she asked Daniel quietly, "Your father is a janitor." Daniel nodded awkwardly. Something in her expression changed that day. Something cold. The dinner invitation. Months later, Daniel invited me to dinner. "A nice restaurant," he said. "Let's celebrate something." I was excited. Family dinners had become rare. So I wore my best shirt, pressed my old jacket carefully, and took the bus downtown. The restaurant was beautiful. Crystal lights hung from the ceiling. Soft music filled the room. Sophia sat elegantly at the table. Daniel looked tired but happy. For a moment, I thought it would be a nice evening. I was wrong. The humiliation. Sophia ordered expensive wine. Then she looked at me and asked casually, "So, Lucas, are you still working as a janitor?" "Yes," I replied. Then she laughed. Loudly. "So interesting," she said sarcastically. "My father owns companies. Daniel is a successful executive. And you?" She leaned back in her chair. "You're just a simple poor janitor." People nearby turned to stare. My son looked uncomfortable. But he didn't say anything. That silence hurt more than her words. Why, I smiled. Most people expected anger. But I smiled. Because life had taught me patience. And because Sophia didn't know something important. Just as she finished laughing, the restaurant manager suddenly approached our table. Behind him stood a tall man in a sharp business suit. The unexpected greeting. The manager smiled respectfully. "Mr. Lucas," he said warmly. "We've been looking for you." Sophia blinked in confusion. Looking for him. Then the man in the suit stepped forward and shook my hand firmly. "Lucas," he said, "tomorrow's investor meeting is confirmed. Everyone is excited about the expansion." The entire table went silent. Daniel looked stunned. Sophia looked pale. The truth. You see, I had been investing quietly for years. Small amounts at first. Saving every extra dollar. Studying business late at night. 5 years ago, I partnered with 2 entrepreneurs to start a cleaning company. Because who understands cleaning better than a janitor? The company grew. Then grew again. And now, it was worth millions. The man standing beside me was my business partner. Shock and regret. Sophia stared at me. "You mean you own the company?" I smiled gently. "Part of it." Daniel leaned forward. "Dad, why didn't you tell me?" I looked at him calmly. Because I never wanted money to define me. A lesson in respect. Dinner ended quietly. Sophia barely spoke. As we stood to leave, she finally whispered, "I'm sorry." I nodded kindly. But before walking away, I said something simple. Never judge someone by their job. Because the janitor you laugh at today may be the person who built the floor you stand on tomorrow. Final reflection. Today, at 65 years old, I still work sometimes. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because every story here leaves behind a lesson.